Howdy y'all and welcome to this special Independence Day forecast. As you can see, we do have some tropical cyclone activity down here in the Gulf affecting Florida, much of the Gulf Coast states, and even down here by the Carolinas. It's a 20% chance, a low-end chance, but a chance nonetheless, and this could affect some Independence Day plans, and we'll get into that here in a little bit. Now, compared to the Eastern Pacific has been very active compared to the Atlantic, but we can see we have a 30% chance, and we have actually a tropical storm, which is going to affect much of western Mexico and the Baja by this weekend. Tropical storm warnings have already been issued for upwards of right around 4 to 6 to 6 to 8 inches possible, so it's definitely going to be causing some mudslides, life-threatening flooding, and even some well-needed rain down to the southwest. As y'all can see, right around 1 to 2 inches of rain is going to be possible by Tuesday of next week. And the Climate Prediction Center has already put out a slight risk for heavy rain down here in the southwest. Not going to be a drought-busting rain or anything, but any rain is better than no rain. We'll take it down there. As y'all can see, the southwestern part of New Mexico is in an exceptional drought, and really much of the southwest is in some sort of major drought. So if you live in western Mexico and the Baja, please be aware of Flossie moving its way towards the north as it turns into a hurricane by Tuesday. It's expected to weaken down by Thursday, though, but it could still pack a punch as it's going to bring hurricane force winds to tropical storm force winds all the way through and possibly past this weekend. So be aware of mudslides, be aware of this, just exercise caution, we'll be just fine. This could affect Independence Day weekend plans as well. Now, other than that, we don't have anything in the Central Pacific, so it's looking pretty quiet out there, so that's some good news. And as we take a look at the simulated infrared radar here on the GFS, we can see we have that tropical cyclone formation out here in the Gulf. It's going to be affecting Florida and much of the southeast for the next few days anyway, and it could ruin some Independence Day weekend plans, unfortunately, so please make those Independence Day plans accordingly. And other than that cyclone chance, it's looking like there could be some tropical activity as we head further into July, as there's going to be some systems moving off the coast of Africa, and it's actually going to be coming into some favorable sea surface temperatures. As y'all can see, the reason why they issue that 20% chance is because the Gulf of America is going to really start to heat up as we head further and further into July. And if you did check out my July outlook, I did say that the Atlantic is going to start to pick up in activity as we head further into July, mainly because the sea surface temperatures are going to really start heating up for this month. And like last year, sort of starting off the same way as we had Beryl, which turned into a Category 5. Now, we're not expecting anything like that here with this 20% chance, but those systems coming off the coast of Africa could possibly do that. Keyword there is possibly, though. Anything can will change. Now, we'll keep y'all updated, by the way, on X and Facebook and my little newspaper called The Weather Chronicle. So just be aware of this, y'all. We are coming into the meat and potatoes of hurricane season, and these sea surface temperatures out there are starting to become very, very, very favorable. And as we take a look at the Pacific Basin, I'm expecting tropical activity to start to wind down for the month of July after Flossie sort of dies down after Saturday, and that 30% chance sort of washes itself out because Flossie is going to be working over those favorable sea surface conditions out there. And you can see after we move past those systems, not much in the way of any sort of activity is going to be expected, but we could come in on some heavy rainfall, though, for the middle of July for much of Mexico. And speaking of those sea surface temperatures that I did mention, we can see that the sea surface temperatures are going to be very favorable in the next couple of days. That's why Flossie is going to be turning into a hurricane, and then it's going to die off as it heads into those cold waters of the Baja. And then we can see those sea surface temperatures are going to be worked over, and that's why I'm expecting the tropical activity to start to wind down as we head further into July. And as far as Independence Day plans go for Hawaii, it's looking pretty good out there, so that's some good news. Could be some pop-up showers up in the northern part of the island, though. So basically what I'm saying is tropical activity in the Pacific is going to start to wind down while the Atlantic is going to pick up. And of course, that can and will change, and I will let y'all know next on Facebook if anything significant happens. So let's go ahead and get into the Independence Day forecast. And actually, before we do that, we got to talk about the severe weather in the next couple of days, as we have a marginal risk today, a slight risk tomorrow, and just a general thunderstorm risk across much of the lower 48. And as we take a look at the risks today, we can see that it's mainly just a high wind threat within all marginal risk zones, but a hail threat is only going to be taking place down here in Oklahoma and Texas. Tomorrow, on good old Tuesday, we have a slight risk over here from Virginia up into New Jersey, mainly a high wind threat. There's a hail threat over here by Nebraska and South Dakota, though. And as we get closer to Independence Day on Hump Day, it's going to be a general thunderstorm risk, but can and will change. And I will, again, let you know on X and Facebook if anything does change. Now let's go ahead and get into the Independence Day forecast. We already know that it's going to be very stormy for the next couple of days. Flossie's going to move its way towards the north, come in tropical depression, bring a lot of heavy rainfall to the southwest. Not drop busting rain or anything, but well needed rain regardless. And it's basically looking pretty soggy from the southwest to the eastern part of the country, as there's actually a 20% chance of tropical cyclone formation down here. It's going to start to stall out. And as we move closer to Independence Day, I know most of y'all make plans to go see family, friends, and go on vacations and everything. So it's looking like some flights might be canceled or delayed down here in the west central, southwest part of the mid-Atlantic, so make those plans accordingly. And it's looking like as we head into Independence Day right around 5 o'clock, when everybody's getting ready for those barbecues. Looks like some barbecues might need to be moved indoors if you live here in the central and western central part of the country, in the upper Midwest and the southeast. Northeast could be coming in on pop-up showers. Northwest looking pretty good. Southwest might be okay as well. Of course, this can will change. Looks like the Ohio Valley and Mid-Tennessee Valley pop-up showers, so some barbecue plans might need to be moved indoors. And as we move off into nighttime hours when those fireworks are going off, it's looking like those fireworks shows might need to be postponed to the next day here in the central and west central, upper Midwest, and southeast. Northwest is looking okay though. Some areas could come in on rain, so fireworks shows might be postponed over here in Nevada, Utah, Idaho. Southwest is okay. Colorado is going to be rainy though, so here's actually my forecast of what I'm expecting. Now this can will change, and we'll let you know next on Facebook the exact forecast on Independence Day of what y'all could expect. But basically in the Northeast, Northwest, and Southwest is going to be okay. Could be some pop-up showers though, so be aware of that. Southeast, going to be rainy, but some areas could be good to go though. Midwest, mainly up in the upper Midwest, is going to be very soggy. The Plains, same story there. So basically Southeast, Midwest, and the Plains, fireworks might be postponed and the barbecues may need to be pushed indoors, but that can and will change, and some areas might not even get down on rain, so please be aware of this, and I will let y'all know. And speaking of fireworks, please do not blow yourself up. Use your common sense. If you don't feel safe enough to set off fireworks yourself, make sure to watch it on TV or attend a fireworks show if it hasn't been postponed to the next day. Don't be the 36% that lose their hands and fingers, and don't be the 10% or 5% that loses their legs or arms or head or face or ears, as over 10,000 people are typically injured on Independence Day because they do stupid stuff like this. They blow themselves up, or they are like this guy. Please don't be like these guys. These guys are most likely drunk and they're stupid. Don't be like these guys. It's funny, but stupid. Use your common sense, y'all. I know it's not common nowadays, but please use it. Other than setting off fireworks yourself and using your common sense, please be aware of those pets. Pets are very scared of fireworks, obviously. If they're crate trained, put them in the crate, shut the blind, turn the radio to loud, helps the pets calm down, eases their anxiety and all that. And usually the day after Independence Day, pets get lost and wind up in animal shelters, and the animal shelters are typically overcrowded because of this, so make sure you keep an eye on your pets. If you do that, it's all good. Make sure you just keep an eye on them. And most of all, make sure to have fun on this Independence Day. That's what it's all about, and I will explain why we even celebrate Independence Day. It's because of the Declaration of Independence, and I have a short story for that as well, so stay tuned, y'all. Keep on watching. And once we move past Independence Day, and hopefully y'all are not picking up body parts or anything off the yard, it's looking like it's going to remain soggy here in the Central Plains and Upper Midwest and Southeast. And it's just looking to remain soggy here in the central and eastern part of the country as we head further and further into July. And there could be an uptick in severe weather here in the central part of the country, and another potential system down here just west of Mexico. But this can will change. This is well over 200 some hours out. Sort of la land when it comes to the models, but basically uptick in severe weather as we head into the middle parts of July, with it being very, very, very soggy here in the eastern and central part of the country. And as we take a look at the precipitation of what we could expect, it's looking like we could be coming in on right around 2 to 4 inches of rain, which we typically are pretty dry this time of year, which is kind of odd, so we'll take it. We're not complaining, but prepare for a very soggy July, y'all. At least the beginning and middle part of July anyway. And we can see the next 6 to 10 days, according to the Climate Prediction Center, we can see much of the country is near normal to above average, so it's basically going to be very, very soggy, although July is typically dry as a bone, but we'll take it. Next 8 to 14 days could come in on an uptick in some severe weather in the central part of the country, as it's looking like it's going to be near normal to above average for really the whole entire country. So now let's go ahead and get into the temperatures of what we could expect. It has been a scorcher out there here as of late. We are into summertime, y'all. It's pretty typical, but we could be coming in on a little bit of a relief here out east. Pretty chilly temperatures up here by Wisconsin and Michigan. It's mainly because we're coming in on a very soggy weather pattern. That's why it's kind of cool out east and hot in the central and western part of the country. But don't get used to it though, because we are heading into the dog days of summer, and those 100-degree temperatures are going to start to make a return once we move into and past Independence Day weekend. You can see that scorching heat is taking hold of the central and western part of the country, and it's a little bit cool here in the eastern part of the country. And we can see here on the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook by the Climate Prediction Center, much of the country is heading to an above average temperature pattern. In the next 8 to 14 days, it's looking like we could be coming in on a little bit of a cool down in the middle of the month here in Michigan and Wisconsin. Near normal temperatures for really much of the mid-Atlantic, Ohio Valley, and Central Plains, while the Northwest is going to be dealing with a heat dome, as well as the Southeast, Southern Plains, and Northeast. So basically, we're just going to be dealing with, unfortunately, scorching heat again after coming in on a little bit of a relief at the beginning parts of this week. But don't get used to it, because the scorching heat is going to definitely make a return after Independence Day weekend. So basically, what I would expect is it to be very soggy for the next couple of weeks here amongst much of the country. Could come in on an uptick in some severe weather here in the central part of the country as we head into the middle parts of July. Expect it to cool down here in the eastern part of the country at the beginning parts of the week, but then it's going to start to heat up once you move into and past Independence Day weekend. Although, in the 8 to 14 day outlook, could be coming into a little bit of a cooling trend here in the upper Midwest as we head into the middle parts of the month. Now, this can and will change. I'll keep y'all updated, of course. And as far as those Independence Day plans go, Northeast, Northwest, and Southwest looks pretty good. Southeast, Midwest, and Plains looking to be very soggy, but some areas could be good to go, and I will keep y'all updated on X and Facebook if this does change, and it will obviously change between now and then. But regardless, rain or shine, make sure you get out and celebrate our country's independence and have fun, y'all, and don't blow yourself up and use your common sense. So now let's go ahead and get into the reason why we celebrate Independence Day. It's because of the Declaration of Independence as we broke away from England because they were taxing us to death and we weren't going to put up with it anymore. So here is a story of resilience against tyranny. In the summer of 1776, as the 13 American colonies teetered on the edge of rebellion, George Washington, commander of the Continental Army, stood at the forefront of a burgeoning struggle. From his quarters in New York, he contemplated the heavy burden of British taxation that had driven the colonies to declare their independence. The Declaration of Independence, adopted in Philadelphia on July 4th, had become a beacon for a people weary of oppression, and Washington saw in it the embodiment of their resolve to cast off the chains of overtaxation. For over a decade, the colonies had chafed under Britain's relentless fiscal demands. The Stamp Act of 1765 had sparked outrage, taxing legal documents, newspapers, and even dice without the colonists' consent. In Virginia, Washington, a planter and surveyor, had joined his fellow gentry in condemning the acts as a violation of their rights as Englishmen. The cry of no taxation without representation resonated from Massachusetts to the Carolinas, uniting merchants, farmers, and artisans. The Townshend Act of 1767 and the Tea Act of 1773 only deepened the wound, imposing duties on everyday goods like glass, paint, and tea. Washington, a man of measured words, privately seethed at these measures which strained the livelihoods of his neighbors and fellow Virginians. The Tea Act in particular ignited a firestorm in Boston on December 16, 1773. Patriots dumped crates of East India Company tea into the harbor, protesting not just the tax, but the principle of subjugation. Washington, though cautious in public, admired the defiance of those who stood against tyranny. Britain's retaliation, the coercive acts which shuttered Boston's port and curtailed colonial self-governance, revealed the Crown's intent to crush dissent. These intolerable acts, as the colonists called them, galvanized the First Continental Congress in 1774 and set the stage for the momentous events of 1776. By July, as Washington strove to mold a ragtag army in New York, a Continental Congress in Philadelphia debated a radical course. Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, and Benjamin Franklin, among others, crafted a document that would sever ties with Britain. On July 4th, they adopted a famous document as the Declaration of Independence, proclaiming the colonies free and sovereign states. When news reached Washington, he ordered the words rang out for imposing taxes on us without our consent. This grievance, one of many listed against King George III, struck a chord. The troops cheered, their spirits lifted by the affirmation of their cause. Not mere rebellion, but a defense of their God-given rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The Declaration was more than parchment to Washington. It was a clarion call. He knew the taxes that plagued the colonies were not merely financial, but a theft of dignity, the denial of the colonists' right to govern themselves. In Virginia, he had seen planters struggle under duties that enriched the distant lords, while in his army camps, soldiers marched in tattered uniforms, their families burdened by the same oppressions. Yet, the unity of the colonies, forged through shared grievance, gave him hope. From the bustling ports of Philadelphia to the fishing villages of New England, the people stood as one against the king's overreach, and we can see that back in 1776, we broke away from overtaxation, and unfortunately nowadays, if George Washington was still around, he would be furious that we are taxed yet again by our own government that sends our own tax dollars to places we don't want them to go and don't need them to go, to enrich our own politicians' pockets, to tell us what to do, how to act, how to breathe, and how to live. And that is unacceptable as Americans. We should obviously not accept taxes on our own citizens, and Donald J. Trump is doing the best he can to get us back into the way it was back in 1776 when we didn't have taxes on our own citizens. So you can see why we celebrate Independence Day every single year, because we broke away from overtaxation from a tyrannical king. So hopefully y'all enjoyed that. If you did, please make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe. I appreciate all y'all for watching. Have a great Independence Day, y'all. Stay safe, use your common sense. Regardless of rain or shine, remember why we celebrate Independence Day in the first place. And I will be posting on X and Facebook as we get closer to Independence Day of the forecast, so make sure you stay tuned to those pages. And until next time, I appreciate all y'all for watching. And until next time, never stop forecasting.